we are going to win. The big question now is like, on what time span is that going to be? Who are going to be the people that implement it? And like, how is this going to manifest itself?
The Bitcoin story is going to go boom, rocket ship, BlockFi rocket ship. It's going straight up and to the right, okay? And all your dreams are going to come true. And then what? And then what? What the fuck are you going to do after you have a Lambo and a mansion? What do you do next? Spend a lot more time thinking about that, because Lambos and mansions come and go. And by the way, like, they're nothing. It's all nothing. It just means nothing. Like, you're flying first class, you're drinking champagne, you're in a Lamborghini. It means fucking nothing. There's no difference between drinking High Lifes and sitting in the back of a Camry and flying Southwest. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. The thing that matters is the world we build, the world we leave behind. Bitcoin's a 1,000-year system. We are going to be, we're the new capital allocators of that world. And we're going to be leaving large amounts of Bitcoin and hopefully new ideas and new systems to the people that come after us.
Like, look, if you're too retarded to like play out the full game theory and that like you only got that far, like congratulations, like you lose. And like anybody who's actually smart enough to get what's going on is like, oh shit, like nationalization is like a real risk at this point in time, because like obviously like we can't ever pay off the debt.
The Bible says that you should keep 1/3 of your wealth in gold, 1/3 of your wealth in real estate, and 1/3 of your wealth in your business. And honestly, that advice is 2,000 years old. It's fucking great advice. Like, if you just replace gold with Bitcoin and you did that, you would just be super prosperous. Like, your FA ain't gonna tell you that shit. The Bible's got you covered though, dog.
We have Bitcoin. It's successful. The nation state can't stop us. Like, if you motherfuckers could actually think for yourselves instead of listening to these fucking pieces of shit on MSNBC who fucking hate you and want to make sure that you stay in the box, you could actually free yourself from this.
Our broad alignment between the public and the state can actually, we can create like a life raft for everyone, and we can basically save everyone who lives around us, in America at least. We can't save the world, but we can save the other Americans.
That's the really beautiful thing, in my opinion, is that like, what we're talking about isn't batshit crazy stuff. In fact, like 90% of humanity is in total agreement with us. And now we have this great thing called the internet, and we have this great way to communicate called Nostr, where like we can do that in a censorship resistant way, that like there's an actual possibility that we could save the world from the global panopticon and totalitarianism that's coming, but that's going to demand a lot of effort and sacrifice in a way that's different.
It's nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Everything is cyclical. Everything, you know, transforms. And like Eric said, the neoliberal world order, which basically is a cover story for the largest theft ever known to mankind. They're stealing from every human being on Earth every time they hit the print button on the fiat central bank computer. That is coming to an end because people just simply can't stand it anymore. It has reached its inevitable conclusion, or it's very near its inevitable end state. And I just don't think it's going to go on for that much longer, especially once the boomers are gone, because they're the only ones who are deeply in love with it. Everybody else is like, fuck it, who needs it? You know?
Most people are completely cucked pussies. And this is like a quote from Julian Assange, but it's something like the realization that like courage is way more rare than intelligence. When I finally got that, I was like, oh shit, like this is super alarming, because like you can have smart motherfuckers who are just limp dick pussies that'll just bend over the moment that you tell them, I'm gonna fuck you.
Greetings and salutations, my fellow plebs. My name is Walker, and this is the Bitcoin Podcast. Bitcoin continues to create new blocks every 10 minutes. The value of one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. And if you're listening to this right now, remember, you are still early. If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to this show wherever you're watching or listening, and share it with your friends, family, and strangers on the internet. If you want to follow me and the show on Nostr and X, just head to the show notes to grab the links. If you're enjoying the Bitcoin Podcast and want to support it by becoming a paid subscriber, you can download the Fountain app, search for the Bitcoin Podcast, and subscribe by paying with Bitcoin via Lightning or fiat via card. You'll get access to ad-free episodes and early releases of select content, plus you'll help support this show. Head to the show notes for product discount links. Go to walkeramerica.substack.com to get episodes emailed to you, and head to bitcoinpodcast.net for everything else. Without further ado, let's get into this Bitcoin talk. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, that camera's pretty sweet, man. You're really putting me to shame over here. I've just got my old stationary camera, like some fucking like Steven Glansberg over here. You know,
I got my own camera operator. You know what I mean? Like fucking
dude, it's pretty dope. All right, let's see if Zap.stream works today. Yes, Zap.stream's working, you guys. What a glorious day. I was honestly a little nervous. I was like, man, I hyped this stream too much for the stream like not to work. Okay. It does. I have a way of doing that. Okay, we should be rock solid though. Sick. I'm just gonna blast this out.
I was like, dude, Eric, my first vlog was on fucking Giorgio Amgagan. I can never say his name.
I'm still not sure how to pronounce it after your video.
The state of exception. And
you read it?
I chat GPT'd the beats.
Oh,
so I mean, essentially, yes, I did read it.
Nothing is lost in translation there, and it's definitely giving you highly accurate information. So, well, it's something. I'll take it.
You were the one who told me about it when we were hanging out in Los Angeles, and I've been thinking about the concept ever since you said it to me, and I just can't stop thinking about it lately, especially like with Donald Trump's like move to federalize, the Washington D.C. police force.
Well, let's be fair in that this wasn't just Ambigen's concept, but he got it from our Nazi friend Carl Schmitt, because we always got to come back to the Nazis. So that's a fun time. But yeah, I'm reading the same Nazi again on other esoteric political theory, which has been really fun, actually.
It's always fun to read Nazi literature, you know.
It's always fun to explain to like liberal girls in San Francisco like why I'm reading Nazis. Like it's a really great
no, it's cool. It's cool. It's not what you think.
No. So like, yeah, he was a Nazi, and like, sure, he defended the Knight of Long Knives, but he's like not a bad dude. He's not.
I was gonna put together like a shelf of like just the most controversial books of all time, and then I was in the Amazon cart and I was like Mein Kampf, and I was like, I don't actually want to build this shelf of books. It's like I'm not gonna buy Mein Kampf.
Wait, can you buy Mein Kampf off of Amazon? Like, you can actually do that?
This was like some years ago. I don't know that you could still do it today.
I feel like you should be able to do it though, like on principle, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's like the whole thing about the First Amendment and like the freedom of speech thing that like people don't like anymore because they're like, oh no, words are scary and they could like hurt me. So like can't let people say shit that they don't like. Which, by the way, like shit going down in the UK, like how fucking wild.
Oh, it's it's the most dystopic thing. And then you talk to them and some of them know what's going on and they're despondent. Like they're just, so depressed about it that they can't even like move themselves to any meaningful action. And then others will tell you with a straight face, I've never heard of this. What are you talking about? And you're like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, I heard about the woman who was put in jail for 3 years and can't see her children because she was a horrible racist. But I mean, that just makes sense. And you're like, whoa. Like this lady like expressed an opinion that she, it was uncouth, whatever you're going to say about it. But she deleted it. She went for a walk and deleted it an hour later. So if you can't have a human moment and post on the internet, and then decide, you know what, that doesn't really reflect my values, I'm going to delete it. I mean, it's the craziest. You're living in a full-on totalitarian concentration camp.
Even so, she didn't call. I know the case you're talking about, but she didn't call explicitly for violence, did she, or anything like that?
She said something to the effect of burn them all or something.
Okay, so it could potentially be
in America. In America, the call to violence has to be specific and credible and imminent. There has to be an imminent threat of violence. So if I say, yo, we should fucking kill all those Midwestern fucking D-bags who like Miller Lite, like Walker, fucking douchebags, just murder them all.
And we should do it right now.
Wait, isn't this going to be a
that's fine
on
because
CNBC?
It's so broad. It's so broad that it doesn't matter. But if I was like, Walker lives at this address and you need to go kill him right now. That's an illegal threat,
Yeah, I'm glad you're not making that threat. By the way,
Who says I'm not?
well, I'll take you to court. See you in court, sir. The influencers that you posted or whatever the other day that like were bragging with probably like fake numbers, because who has that much money like fiat in a bank account? But anyway,
Yeah.
like I had multiple people be like, "Oh, that's like Walker and Carl." It's like, do you like really, of like all the things, like after all the things you've seen Carl and I do, you think we'd be like the ones out there for some reason still using TikTok
Right.
and then like bragging about, first of all, like if I had 200 BTC, I would not need to shill affiliate links on this podcast.
Yeah, a bunch of people thought that. A bunch of people thought that was you guys for some reason. I think just because the dude is a similar build to you, but
I thought that guy looked like a bitch, honestly. So like I'm kind of offended.
Well, you're both just like slender dudes. You know what I mean? So like it's a
Wow,
compliment.
slender. Okay,
it's a compliment.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like
I
one.
couldn't tell the difference because of how good looking he was, and I was like, "Is that Adonis
Thank
or
you.
Walker?" Like, I can't tell.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Now it's wild in the UK though. I was talking to some gals that were visiting. Like this was like a month or two ago, and I was asking them like, what do you think about the situation there? And they're like, obviously like pretty based, and we're basically like, no, it is as bad or worse than people say. And like, but to your point, Hodl, like even in the UK, like a lot of people just like won't talk about it or aren't aware of it. But I guess like we have the same sort of, I guess that's perhaps a global condition where like not everyone's going to pay attention to stuff, but it's wild there because it seems so acute that it's like, how could you not pay attention to it?
It's
like,
worse.
how could you not be aware?
Yeah,
Well, that's the whole that's a censorship recursive thing. It's like we can censor you, bringing attention to it. So like I'm pretty sure that there have actually been like thousands of people that have been jailed for this at this point in time. But because you can't publicly speak about it in the UK, nobody's aware about it. So they're like, what do you mean this stuff is happening? It's like, oh, it's because like we can now memory hole everything because you can't actually talk about it.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of first principle shit that like I find bananas, that like people can't like put together, being like, wait a minute, if they like can censor stuff, doesn't that mean that we don't have access to like what the actual information is? Like, whoa, maybe that's like not good. And I like being like, you know, there's like other people who are like way fucking smarter than you or me who like thought about all this shit like hundreds of years ago, before like their brain could be rotted by TikTok, so they could really like sit down and like think hard about shit. And it turns out they like figured out, like here in the United States, they're like, you know, this like being able to like speak openly thing, this is like really important, because like if we want to be like, fuck the king, that guy sucks, like that's kind of a big priority for us to be able to do that. But I don't know, a lot of people can't put this shit together, and it's deeply concerning.
Something you know I think about quite a bit is you ever heard David Foster Wallace's "This Is Water" speech? It's a really good speech. I would recommend everybody look it up. And you know, essentially the story is that two young fish are swimming along, and an older fish comes by and goes, "How's the water today, boys?" And the young fish turns to the other one and says, "What the fuck is water?" And so it's like the water in David Foster Wallace's analogy is the dogma that pervades your life. It's the cultural presuppositions that you've never thought about, you've never had a meta critique or analysis of. You don't even know they're there because they're just so part of your world. And for the British, I think not having free speech is actually baked deeply into their culture because they've never had free speech ever. It's not like they lost it at some point. And when, you know, one example I've used with British friends over and over again, when we're at dinner, I always bring this up and I say, you know, sarcasm, British sarcasm, famous dry humor, is a reaction to you guys not having free speech, because you need to be able to say, no, I meant the opposite of what I said. I was being sarcastic, right? And they go, no, we're just British, mate, you know, fucking whatever. And it's like, no,
just funnier.
It's a constraint that came up. Americans are funny too, but Americans are funny in a way where we can be bold and brash and outright about what we want to say, right? Where you can't do that in England, because you always need the trap door, the fallback of, I was just taking the piss. I was just being sarcastic. I meant the opposite. I actually meant it. No, I meant it sincerely, or I didn't mean it sincerely, whatever it is. And that's something that's very difficult for British people to see clearly. And in fact, like those in the audience who are British will be upset at me for saying this because they usually are. But I keep saying it repeatedly because it's important to poke at the invisible fences. You know, in like Jurassic Park, the velociraptors are always testing the fences and they never test the same spot twice. It's important to be doing that in your own life and with your culture and like the things that you take for granted. Like, what is the water that is around you? And we have our own in America, so I'm not uniquely putting this on the Brits. I'm just saying like that's an example from their culture and part of why this is going on with, you know, the draconian anti-speech stuff over there.
It's kind of interesting, the fence testing part about, because like I think a lot of people have never like tried to touch the fence, and so if you're like that's a fence, they're like, what? No, like I'm totally free. I can go wherever I want. You're like, so like go over
Go
there.
touch it. Yeah.
And they're like, well, I have no need to go over there. They're like in theory and practice, like why don't you try that? And it's kind of interesting because they're like, no, like I don't
want to.
I really like it right here, and it's like, I think you might just be a pussy.
Yeah.
That's also one of the other like really despondent things I've realized is that like most people are completely cucked pussies. But like, and this is like a quote from Julian Assange, but it's something like the realization that like courage is way more rare than intelligence.
Yeah.
Like when I finally got that, I was like, oh shit, like this is super alarming because like you can have smart motherfuckers who are just limp dick pussies that'll just bend over the moment that you tell them, I'm gonna fuck you, and like this happened one way or another. Like, all right, no fight, let's do this. It's like, oh, wow, that was alarming and easy.
I actually
it's very
I
disturbing.
think smart people can be more susceptible to cowardice than people who aren't, because you know, if you can think about all the potential consequences from taking an action, then you're less likely to take that action. Whereas somebody who's dumber would be like, I was gonna fucking do it and see what the fuck happens, like, right?
Well,
but if
smart people rationalize. Like you can always rationalize your way out of something because you're like, well, because of X, Y, and Z, this is why of course I shouldn't go and do this. Like, versus like the fuck it, like.
Well, and in addition to the fact that particularly like mid-bell curvers, because they like think they're really smart, like they're way more susceptible to like the social heuristics that are around them, where they go, oh, if I like say that outlandish thing, like I can get canceled. Whereas like your right bell curve and your left bell curve people, like I really like that the right bell curve people understand that the left bell curve people is like their main ally, and that they're like, hey, we'll like team up because like I'm smart enough to get that like all of the reasoning of like why you're actually right, and they're like, huh? Like, that just feel good. It's like, all right, like, well, we should do well here together.
I think that might be my favorite meme format. Like if I had like, and that's a tough ask, right? Like if you had to pick one meme format that like, that's the only meme format you can use like the rest of your life. Like that's it, you're locked in. I think that might be it for me. Like it might be the bell curve meme because it hits on so many levels. I don't know.
No, do you know how many people don't know what the bell curve?
Good.
Do you know how many people don't know what the bell curve meme is? The average person, the midwit on the bell curve, has never heard of the bell curve meme. That's, again, back to the dogma that pervades your life. They don't even know what the bell curve meme is, right? Whereas we all use, I was talking with Mason, one of the young guys from the True North podcast when I was up in Portland, and we were discussing Bitcoin treasury companies. I was giving a take, and he was like, I think you're mid-curving it, dude. And I was like, wait, am I mid-curving? You know, and then we all do that to each other, right? Like, that's like our way to be like, hey, you're thinking like a normie, you know? The normies have never heard that because to exist in a state of meta-analysis about normiedom it pops the bubble that is normiedom. So you can't even think the word normie when you're a normie. That's the dogma that pervades your life.
Well, or like normie isn't like a pejorative to them. They're like, oh, like, thanks.
What do you mean?
Really normal,
Of course I'm a normie, dude.
I live in the box.
Naturally.
Like, I invest in my 401k. It's great, you know?
Everything's
the government's
great.
totally gonna let me have it when I'm retired. So
I'm sorry,
cool.
I like Taylor Swift and football. I'm sorry.
Sorry for having a good time. You know, sorry for having a good time.
Crazy. What?
Cracking open a Miller latte.
That's
you know,
right.
Just doing it. You know,
You catch the game last night?
It was sick. Dude.
Sure did. I'm glad that our local sports team beat the other local sports team.
There was this group of young black millionaires, and then they advanced the ball against the other group of young black millionaires, and it was sick, dude. a cream to my pants, bro. No,
It was
it's
sweet though, because there were a couple of young white millionaires too, and they seemed to be at the center of the formation. It's really strange too. I don't know, man. I don't get it.
And then you're
I
like,
don't get
hey
it.
guys, like, is it fucked up that a bunch of white billionaires own all of the black millionaires that are proceeding to give each other brain damage for your
It's cool.
entertainment?
It's cool
Oh, no.
now because they're
dude,
well paid.
Nah, bro, that's
It's cool.
That's not. Shut up, dude. You fucking.
That thought makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. I'd like to turn off that. Oh, no, thank you, sir.
I like the uncomfortable shifting when you like bring shit up to people
Yes.
like that, and
Yes.
like, you know, now I've obviously like pigeoned myself into like Bitcoin guy land, which is infuriating because anytime it starts, it's always like, oh, you like crypto? And I'm like, no. The fact that you know no difference between Bitcoin and crypto shows that you know absolutely nothing about either of them. Yet I'm sure you have strong opinions about it. And they're like, well, yeah, it's destroying the environment and all of the water. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why they're developing fucking new infrastructure in rural Africa where people have never had access to energy before and they could do it with Bitcoin mining. Same fucking reason why the largest hydro plant in America was saved by Bitcoin mining, because it absolutely destroys the environment, right? But you know so much about how environmentalism is affected by electricity markets because you clearly have expertise in this, right? Like with such strong opinions about how the electrical markets work, like I'm sure that you understand the difference between like baseload and otherwise, right? And they're like, huh?
I was in a room.
Yeah, motherfucker.
I was in a room arguing this exact thing with
Sorry, we're at this point now.
a group of normies, and you know, I basically said, I gave them this long dissertation about flare gas mitigation and how it works, and you know how Bitcoin miners take advantage of this, and how you know they're contributing to you know lack of emissions in the atmosphere, blah 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 blah. And the normie audience listened to this entire thing and was like, "Yeah, but still, bro," and it's. Okay, man. Why did I take the time to explain how things work to you? I think it's like being a normie, if we're to, you know, it's not like a specific type of person, right? It's not like if you live in the Midwest and your name is Karen and you're 30 pounds overweight, you're a normie. No, like that's not what it is. Although like you probably are a normie. But it's a lack of it's being fundamentally incurious. That is what it is to be a normie. It's having no ability to you know, have a thought outside of a perceived box of approved thoughts, and then not caring that you've never had an unapproved thought, just not caring at all, and being like, that's fine. I don't know. Why would I need to have different thoughts? These thoughts are great.
I mean, it's the water thing again. Like it's not even a lack of care. It's like, whoa, wait, hang on. Like I can think these things. It's like, yeah, like why don't you just try like taking on some of it like as a thought experiment in itself? Like one of the ones I find fascinating is asking people to steel man stuff, and they're like, "What?" And it's like, well, let's just like try on for a minute that like maybe instead of like Orange Man just being absolutely an evil travesty and a piece of shit, that like maybe some people could possibly have some values that for a good reason they like him, and they're like, "You like Trump, don't you?" And it's like, no, like I think he's a piece of shit too, but. Could you see how there could be reasons that someone could like him? And they're like, can I think that? And it's like, yeah, you can. You can actually try on that thought and not believe it's true. And they're like, no. And it's like, yeah, go ahead. Like, think about it.
It's genuinely so wild, like that. Like a huge swath of the population does not have that ability at all. Like does not have the ability to put themselves in the shoes of another in like a meaningful way, in a way that actually would allow them to think different thoughts or like just quite literally think thoughts that are not the ones that they've been programmed to think. Like they literally can't even conceptualize. And that's why it's like you wonder like, oh, why is the political discourse as it is in America? It's like, well, because literally most of the people having this discourse are incapable of even comprehending that the other side may have valid reasons for why they believe what they believe. Even if it's not saying what they believe is right or wrong or anything. It's just that they have reasons. They didn't just come to these. I mean, some of them are just programmed with them, but there are also legitimate grievances, right? Why do they have those grievances? What reasons could there be for that? Have you thought about that at all? And just most people just like, no, they're just bad. They must just be evil. They must just be bad people. And if you're talking about communists, yes, that's a pretty good heuristic because, and this goes back to, I was thinking about this today, actually before your vlog, and I want to shout out to your vlog. Now that we're live on air, go watch Hodl's introductory vlog. It's awesome. I liked the mouth part when you got really close in there too. That was nice.
I put the camera inside my mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I can't tell if it's a big mouth or a little camera or neither. But anyway,
Oh, no.
shit. But I woke up this morning thinking, I don't know why, but I woke up this morning just being like, it is fucked up that communists get away with being communists in this day and age when like Nazism is so absolutely despised. Now, I think Nazism is correctly despised. I think communism should be despised on that level and then to another degree because it has killed an order of magnitude more people, right? It's something like what, depending on
But
what
that wasn't
estimates you
real
look at, like,
communism, though.
yeah,
Like,
no,
you can't-
that was
fake
just
communism.
a sparkling communism. You know, like it's only real communism if it's from the, you know, communist region of you're fuckistan. I don't know. But like I was just thinking about that, and you talking. I don't want to give away too much of your vlog because people should watch themselves. But you talking about Nazis and stuff and the Holocaust, it just made me think about. And again, guys, you should watch Hodl's vlog because me saying this out of context sounds bad. But
It's
not.
I have a neo-Nazi blog. We praise the Holocaust.
Guys, it's not what it sounds like. It's not at all what it sounds like. My point being, it is insane that like you can, as like a university professor, as part of the intelligentsia, you are it's totally acceptable for you to be like, yeah, I'm a communist, and I think these communist ideas, I think these are valid, or I think socialism, which is just a bridge to communism, is a good idea. When this is something that's killed over 100 million people, like conservatively, since it was first started to be practiced, like that's insane that you can have that as your ideology, and that people are like, yeah, that's actually a totally like you're still socially acceptable as a member of our society. In fact, we would love to give you funding. Can we give you a grant, sir? Because I think that the way you talk is just great. And you've got like the Zoran, whatever his name is, in New York, who's just, oh my God. Did you see the video with him and Warren? Where they're laughing, they're having just a good time. And it's just like, you sick communist fucks. You're disgusting.
You should treat communists the way you would treat a group of individuals who had gathered on the street corner outside your house and were making elaborate plans for how to murder you and your family and then take all of your belongings. And you could hear them in earshot. That's how you should treat communists. You know? But by the way, back to the thing about like how people discern reality and this team sport thing where politics are now like, you this side, that side, whatever. I think that when you're young, you have a true false filter because you need to figure out how the world operates. And so you think to yourself, like, I see this with my children, like, is this true? Is this not true? Are ghosts real or are they not? I took my kids to Disneyland recently. It's like, is this a real mouse? Is this a guy in a costume? You have to run that filter when you're a kid. But as you get older, a lot of people, it's back to the incurious part, like they shut off that filter and then they replace that filter with an us-them filter. And the reason they do it is because, thinking via convention is very easy. It's very easy to think in group because you're outsourcing that thinking. And so it's no cost to you. Whereas if you're going to spend all of your time thinking, like Erik Cason spends 99.99% of his time thinking, the other 0.01% jerking off, I assume.
I mean, like you're being generous with the ratios there, but
it's a lot of mental load. Like it's very pun intended. It takes a lot of time, and we all know as people who try to engage in thinking that it's extremely difficult and costly, and it's painful and it hurts. And like the scientific process, you're always wrong. So like the normie mindset thing is like, I feel like I'm constantly taking off my normie hats and then I take off another normie hat and another normie hat and another normie hat as these truths unveil themselves as I continue to search for greater and greater truths,
Well, it's funny that this kind of returns us all the way back to like Socrates' apology of that, like, look, I'm stupid. Like, I don't know much about the world or how it works. And like the more that I figure out, like the dumber I feel. Mm-hmm. Particularly, like I'm reading Schmitt's Political Romanticism right now. It's phenomenal, but like as I'm reading it, I'm like, this is really hard to understand, and I feel really dumb. But also then, like, I go out in the world and I encounter these people who are like particularly like politicians and investors, like they're just like, I am fucking absolutely certain about this thing. Like, I know how the world works, and like, you don't. And I'm just like, God damn, to like have that amount of hubris, like, I'm a little jealous. Like, I wish I could just like turn off thought and just like fucking bore forward. And the irony is that like it's that degree of stupidity that actually allows for them to perform so well. Whereas like if you've actually thought hard enough and long enough about stuff, like there's always this thing where it's like I could be pretty wrong, so like I really got to like try to position myself and my feet on truth. But yeah, I find it a deeply shocking thing at how confident people will be about how right they are. And furthermore, like that's kind of this heuristic of like it actually shows how chicken shit and callous they are, because like it's really just about saying the shit that people want to hear as opposed to actually creating sincere dialogue with other people. And like now that I live in the Bay Area, like in the bubble that is liberalism, it's pretty interesting at how often that like, because I obviously don't ascribe to contemporary political theory. But so like it really throws people for a loop when like I don't necessarily subscribe to their liberal beliefs, but I'm like, oh, like I'm an anarchist, and they go, wait, hang on. And I'm like one of the things that like I keep coming back to is that like, you know, obviously like your body, your choice, absolutely. So like when I want to do heroin, like I really hope that you're not going to stop me and be like in solidarity. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like if it's my body, my choice, like we should be able to do whatever drugs we want, whenever we want, and like nobody should stop us. Actually, like we should probably get the state to like sponsor drug programs in different ways and like needle exchange and shit, because like that's what we want the state to do, right? And they're like, yes. I'm like, furthermore, like my body, my choice, like I should be like, if I want to modify it with like a grenade launcher as my arm, like we should be able to do that. And they're like, hang on, like I'm not certain about that. But for me, like, I like to try to like murky the water as much as I can, because like I don't know the right answer, but I'm pretty sure that like how confident you are that your answer is right, like isn't true. So like let's just murky this shit up and like make it as confusing as possible.
I like to do a similar thing where I data dump as a too online person. I like to data dump online meme culture onto normies in real life. Where I'll just
of you.
They'll just be like, how's the weather? And I'd be like, oh, it's great, man. Did you catch the thing between Fuentes and Carlson and Candace Owens? And there's a whole thing about like he's a fucking anti-Semite, but like they're like, you might be CIA, and there's like a whole thing here and blah blah blah. And the normies are just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's also threatening to realize like how much like I feel really lucky that like I'm like working at Presidio Bitcoin, and like I'm surrounded by Bitcoiners, which is like this great heuristic filter for like pretty intelligent people. But then I like go back and interact in normie land, and I'm like, oh shit, like we're like a few standard deviations out of the field of like what normal conversation can be had. And it's just really unfortunate, because I realize like how much you really have to like water shit way down. And so it's disturbing that like I keep repeatedly getting in the conversation where we have to like begin at like, okay, you like don't know the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, but like you're convinced I'm a crypto bro, despite the fact that I tell you it's not. And it's always just fun that I'm like, I literally wrote a book about this because I got so fucking sick of explaining this over and over. And then they're like, can I read the book? I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be a little advanced for you. So,
for the first time in my life, I'm starting to understand the French. The French hate it when you try and speak their language. They're like, let's just speak your stupid language. Don't speak our language, right? I'm having the same experience when people ask me about Bitcoin stuff. It's like, I'd rather just not talk about it these days. Whereas like all of us are going like deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, and we're like egging each other on to go even deeper. And it's like, you're thinking like a midwit, you're thinking like a normie. Oh, I am? Oh shit, I should go even deeper. What's the deeper, like, how do I go here? Whereas when you talk to your whoever in real life, even if they do have a piece of information, it's like a chimpanzee with a handgun where they're like, yeah, no, I know about warm wallets. And you're like, okay, enough.
Stop it. You're just so cute.
You shot me
so
with your bad piece of information.
The one that fascinates me is like, again, here we are at an all-time high where if people had fucking listened on the last podcast that we did together, they would have like made money. But like, no, like we have to do this whole fucking cycle again. And I'm just infuriated at like, at what price point do you like take me seriously? Like how, like where is it where you stop and go,
Never.
you know,
Never.
like maybe I'm just retarded and these guys actually know what's better than me. And like maybe I should try to listen to them. But yeah, it's never. And like it's infuriating. And also like there's something quite poetic about it as well, is that like they're engaged in this form of life where they're like, oh, like I want to escape the slavery that is my 9 to 5, and like I wish I wasn't constantly fighting inflation and that everything wasn't so expensive, and that, like the whole shebang. And it's like, I have a very simple answer for you. And they're like, no, like what would you ever know about that? And it's like, well, like I'm not in the slave camps with you, and like I can kind of do whatever the fuck I want. And they're like, well, you got lucky. And it's like, so best of luck with you. Like I'm gonna go enjoy my life. Like have fun getting up at 6:30 to like drive through traffic to like get to the job that you fucking hate.
You know,
just so you know, Cason, I think we're up maybe like $30,000 per coin since the last time you told people they were fucking retards for not listening to you the time before that, from which we were like up, I don't know how much, like, yeah. So like your advice has continued to prove sound, and I hope that people will listen. Like it's
this
a really
is one of the
simple
most
thing to do.
It's one of the most frustrating things because, like, back to the true false heuristic, one of the things I thought when I got into like investing in general, even before Bitcoin, is I was like, okay, well, at least in, you know, investing world, there's a scoreboard for how right I was, right? So I was like, at least people will see the scoreboard and be like, there's a number behind how right this guy was. Nope, nobody looks at the scoreboard. They don't care, and they don't view you as right. What they do is they all just put their head in the sand and pretend that, first of all, you never told them what you said. Number one, you never told me that. I never watched that podcast. I don't even know who Erik Cason is, right? No. Yeah, Erik Cason. He's been my next door neighbor for 10 years, but I've never talked to him. I don't even know that man, right? And then, like, yeah, you're my brother, but I've never spoken to you. We have nothing in common. Like, this is how the normie mind, it will do whatever it takes in order to protect itself from, you know, the truth, from reality, essentially. And we're never going to get it, man. No one's ever going to come back and say, you were right. Never.
I know, no, and it's never happened. I've finally accepted that'll never happen. It's funny because this reminds me of, like, my dad and his friends had like an investing club for a while, and like they, like, you know, at the beginning I'm obviously like, oh, like you guys should buy Bitcoin, like that's obviously like the right answer. And I'm like, oh no, too rich, but like all the bullshit. And it was great because like when they would, like, I'd like kind of check in with them every 6 months and be like, oh hey guys, like let's see, like the Bitcoin investment I told you guys about is up 250%. What? How are you guys doing? Like what's like? Oh, you guys are up 15%. Whoa! Like good job, guys. Like I'll check back in next time. Come back and it's like, okay, so we're like up 600% over here. Like you're 25%. Whoa, guys! Like you're gonna retire a couple months early. Like good job. You guys factored in inflation? Oh, you didn't factor in inflation? Oh well, shit. On the CPI index, you guys are actually down 12%. Yeah. What do I know? Like I'm just a Bitcoin guy, right? Like I couldn't know anything about finance, right? Like I don't even have a 401k because, like, why would I want to have the thing that is going to ultimately lose 30% of its value because the government's going to be stealing from you? And then if you try to take any money out early because there's a crisis that happens, the government's going to steal half of it. But you know, what could I know? Anyway, so you guys have fun. I don't know. I just like, it's just frustrating because I realize like I'm locked in a world with a bunch of idiots who believe that they're way smarter than me, and I'm just finally gotten to the place where it's like, have fucking fun. Yeah, like you're definitely way smarter than me. You know, you get up real early, go to that job that you really don't like, you're stressed all the time, you're doing all the normie stuff, trying to perform to these other people's standards. Like, sounds really great. You sound like a really, really happy person. So good luck. And I'm going to be miserable over here with my magic internet money. So
it's like children. It's like having children. It's like when you tell your child, like, don't touch that, and they're like, and then they get hurt, and then you're like, this is what was going to happen. This was all, you know. Yeah. I hang out on Bitcoin Clubhouse, and we just like talk the most insane shit about like political theory or the markets, and like it's like constant like dick jokes. It's like a combination of like CNBC on LSD plus like Howard Stern plus like the Joe Rogan podcast or some shit, right? And I have no way to contextualize this for normies, so I just say it's my investor group. I'm talking to my investor.
Wait, so like I think was it you that posted about this like recently where you're like, yeah, we're still like hanging out on Clubhouse, and I was like, I thought for some reason that Clubhouse like as an app had like shut down, or people like it is still alive and well.
It's like Bitcoin's water cooler. Like, okay, like when you go on Spaces, like Twitter Spaces, it's horribly gay, and the reason why,
It's the worst.
It's like a conference where everybody's like, well, I wasn't done speaking. It's like, how about shut the fuck up? None of us care about any of you or what you have to say.
It's
right?
like Bitcoin LinkedIn, you know, like it's like God.
So Clubhouse
Disgusting.
is like the bar at the conference where we would just be like, yeah, cool talk. It sucked. I hated it, you know. Like we have a different culture over there where we just like talk mad shit all the time. It's very fun. But honestly, it's my own special thing, so don't come over. I don't want any of you guys.
I don't want to be over there.
Don't come.
On Clubhouse. I'm not going to, dude. In fact, I'm going to figure out a way to shut it down. So you can't have nice things, just so you know. It's over for you.
By the way,
should we talk about government involved?
Should we talk about the suitification of Bitcoin? Like, you know, the Twitter Spaces LinkedInification of like what's going on, where everybody's like,
oh man, like it's
just a bunch of tees with orange ties.
The thing I hate the most is like somebody comes in pretty based with like some cool shit. You're like, all right, like I like this person, I like what they're doing, and then they're like, oh, like I got my Bitcoin treasury company now, like you. Number go up forever. And it's just like, oh, God fucking damn it. Like, why? Like, this is why we can't have nice things. We're like, no, you don't understand. Like, we own the Bitcoin and then number go up.
Dude,
I'm like, guys, like, there's so like you're at least holding your Bitcoin, right? They're like, yeah, for sure. Like we hold all of our IBIT. I'm like, no, that's something else. They're like, no, it's Bitcoin. You're like, no, it's not. They're like, yes, it is. Do you want to fight about this, bro? It's Bitcoin. And I'm like, look, it's a synthetic derivative of Bitcoin, which means that it's not Bitcoin. They're like, but you just said it's Bitcoin. I'm like, God damn it. We can't have this conversation. You're too fucking stupid. You're stupid. I'm like, I own a Bitcoin treasury. Like, how many Bitcoin do you have? I'm like, that's my fucking point. I actually own Bitcoin. You don't. You own this other thing. And like, you just said that I was right. I own the Bitcoin. And I was like, God damn it. Okay, you win. You win. Bitcoin goes up forever. There's no problems with your investment scheme. You're just going to get rich. And fiat world, it just goes to $10 million, but everything's normal. It's not like this infects hyperinflation, and your company's totally fine. And it's not like the U.S. government shows up to steal all your fucking Bitcoin because you obviously own the Bitcoin, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, fine. Dude, we can't have nice things.
So I own and participate.
I fucking love you.
In a little bit of Bitcoin treasury shit. Like I do a little bit of Bitcoin treasury shit. I'm not gonna lie. Say I don't. I do. But Bitcoin treasury companies are literally, you send me one Bitcoin, I send you two back. That's literally what they are. And like the nationalization risk for MSTR especially is sky high. And in fact, sometimes I look at my retirement account and just think to myself, am I stacking Bitcoin for the US government? Like, is that what I'm doing? Am I lending my capital so that the U.S. government can ultimately like nationalize this hoard of Bitcoin at some point in the future? And I think the answer might be yes, you know?
But like, is everybody with a 401k? Basically okay, so like I have a 401k that I had from my times as a Accenture consultant, you know, for a little while, and then I just stopped contributing to one after that. But then I found it again and threw what was in there into MSTR, and that did well because it turns out that my whatever Vanguard Target 55 retirement thing was like just not even keeping pace with inflation, and I finally paid attention to this account again. I was like, oh, that's a stupid thing to do. But like I've always viewed retirement accounts as like, boy, that is just the easiest honeypot for the U.S. government to siphon bits off of when they need to. And like you may say like, well, like, you know, they would never do that. And it's like, really? They'd never do, like they would never change the rules because they made serious miscalculations as far as demographic shifts and like our social security, Ponzi scheme is completely insolvent, and like, I don't know, our national debt is completely unsustainable. Like they would never change the rules. Like really?
Yeah, they never would.
And it's like, no, everything's totally fine. But like, so yeah, my point being that like you might be stacking Bitcoin for the U.S. government through a proxy, but everybody is also just stacking fiat for the U.S. government through that retirement account as well. So like, it's everyone's in the same boat there. But I'm curious. Go ahead.
I just want to comment on like, I just love the ultimate game theory that comes down to it. It's like, look, if you're too retarded to like play out the full game theory and that like you only got that far, like congratulations, like you lose. And like anybody who's actually smart enough to get what's going on is like, oh shit, like nationalization is like a real risk at this point in time because like obviously like we can't ever pay off the debt, and obviously like anybody who has like a full brain like does that process and they're like, oh, like that's why Bitcoin is what it is and how it exists. And like I don't know, it's just really amazing to me that like people will get like to 90% and they're just like full stop, and it's like, hey, hold up, like that's like not the full equation. And they're like, but number go up. I'm like, I have more money. Like, life is incredible. And it's like, yeah, but like, what happens if the state decides that they want to take that? And then they're just like, that would never happen. And it's like, but what if it did? And they're like, but it won't. And I'm like, yeah, but in a hypothetical situation, if that were to happen, what happens? They're like, but it won't. And I'm like, God fucking damn it. I'm trying to get you to do a hypothetical. And they're like, look, like, I don't know about hypo, theo, whatever. Like, I just know I'm making a bunch of money and you're not. So who's right here? And I'm like, fine, you fucking win. Don't talk to me ever again.
There are some, like, okay, so there's some positives with treasury companies, right? I think one of the positives is that for years we've been telling people to buy Bitcoin, and they just straight up fucking didn't. And they never will, and they never are going to. And like, once Bitcoin crossed 100K, essentially everybody realized that, oh shit, Bitcoin's real. It's going to happen. It's going to $1 million a coin. But for some reason, they all have the normie mental block where they believe that even though this story is happening, they're not going to be participants in the story. Okay. But many of them have pensions. Many of them have 401ks. Many of them are invested in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, et cetera. And, from a passive indexation standpoint, Bitcoin is now making its way into the traditional markets. And so they are going to get Bitcoin exposure. They're not going to get actual Bitcoin. They're not going to have sovereign level Bitcoin. They're not going to have the digital, monetary nuclear weapon grade Bitcoin that you have, but they're going to have exposure to Bitcoin's price appreciation. Okay. Because they have exposure to Bitcoin's price appreciation, we get a broader alignment with them, these people that we've been trying to, lead these horses to water and can't make them drink for now 15, 16 years. We get broader alignment where they don't want to pull out the pitchforks and stab us to death and take all our shit. So that's good. The other thing that's happening is, the SBR, right, which is, potentially it's going to happen. Lummis has a bill. There's a way they can do it via executive order, but the legal theory is novel, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, that's, again, a broader alignment of our interest with the state interest. And I know, like, Eric wants to have a fight with the state where they gulag him and, he's like, he screams libertas and then they, chop his head off. But I would like for Eric to live. And I think that, our broad alignment, between the public and the state can actually, we can create like a life raft for everyone, and we can basically save everyone who lives around us in America. At least we can't save the world, but we can save the other Americans. And I think that's,
I can save the world. I got a plan here. Don't worry.
I think that's something
it's Bitcoin communism. I'm going to do that. It's going to be great.
Here we go.
It'll make our lives better if we have broader alignment with people. And so that is the silver lining to the treasury companies and the nation states, et cetera. But again, if you're giving up control of your keys, you're not operating a sovereign level. And I don't know if you're going to be defensible for the times that are coming ahead, because there are many, many paths here where things could go horribly wrong. The path I'm outlining is a pretty good path where like the monetary changeover happens and we are able to backdoor exposure into almost every American's life.
I mean, so like there's a couple of things there. Like, yeah. On the one hand, I'm like, I completely agree with you. I also think like treasury companies, nation state adoption, all of that is was always going to be inevitable if Bitcoin is
Right.
successful. Like that, of course. Like you would have to be like literally retarded not to do that as a nation state or a company if Bitcoin is successful and is in the process of hyper Bitcoinization. So that's going to happen. Now, like whether or not that's good or bad, I agree with your point in alignment, and it's kind of like I forget, Hodl, when you said this, but basically like like we're still Trojan horsing them, and we just have to like shut up about it a little bit. Like we just need to like we're inside, like they brought us inside the gates, just like everybody like just like stop arguing with each other, like just shut the fuck up. Like we're in the horse right now, like everyone's about to go to sleep, don't wake them up. And I feel that what I'm I think like. And like I have a little bit of exposure to like a couple of treasury companies, like just for fun. Like that's my shit coining right now. It's like, oh, like this is like my my Vegas, baby. It's like I'll take a couple of cuck pucks and gamble them on these. I've also I think
it's Weimar. We live in Weimar.
Yeah,
That's,
of course we would do that. Let's go crazy. Like,
we live in Weimar.
The Bitcoin,
but like
the Bitcoin
my goal is to get more
argument
Bitcoin.
is becoming. What was that?
Like I said, well, I wanted to clarify. My goal is to get more Bitcoin. I'm probably going to fail, but like it's a remind. Like my goal is to trade that for more Bitcoin. Now I am like 99% sure going to fail, and that's why it's a de minimis amount for me.
SBRs are like safe needles. It's like look, if you're gonna do drugs, like let's make sure that you're not gonna get HIV.
It's harm reduction shitcoining. Yeah.
I think what a lot of people are not acknowledging, obviously because they're trying to sell equity, is that like the majority of the treasury companies are going to underperform Bitcoin like over a couple of years.
Yes.
Like they might outperform Bitcoin for like a month, but they're going to underperform Bitcoin like as soon as that time horizon gets stretched even a little bit. And like MicroStrategy, I'm putting that in like that's its own category, right? Like that's obviously a completely different player. The rest of them, I would say maybe there's going to be a few that outperform Bitcoin over like a 4-year cycle. I don't think it's going to be that many.
What about a 40-year cycle? Like that's always my question is like, what's your time horizon? Because like, you like make a bunch of money, but then the problem is that like we get 6102 and now like your money is like this surveilled thing that like has liquidity stops on it to where it's like, yeah, like I own like $30 billion, but the problem is like a carton of eggs is $1 million and I'm only allowed to withdraw $10 million a month, which to be clear, $10 million has the purchasing power of like $50 right now. And like, it's super obvious to me that like this is the play and it's going to work super well because it's like, we're going to get CBDCs, which is like a private public partnership where it's like, no, like the government could never, ever be able to have a CBDC because we have JP Morgan and Citibank coin. Yeah. And like, they're like interoperable because of all of this really great technology. And like, we don't hate you at all. We're like giving you $500 free a month. Oh, but like you said the word Nazi on the internet. So actually you don't get any money unless like you're going to do your online re-education course, which like, that's going to be some dystopian shit where it's like, all right, got to give us full access to like root your computer. And like, now you need to be watched. Like, oh, you looked away because your child was set on fire. Like, you don't get any money now. Like, we're going into like some really fucking crazy dark shit.
Yeah.
And most people are just going to swallow that right up and be like, the government loves us and they gave us $500. I'm like, did they put your grandpa into the re-education camp so that he wouldn't say those not so nice things about the brown people anymore? It's like, yeah, but to be fair, grandpa was really racist. Be like, yeah, all of our grandpas were really racist. That's just kind of how the world worked at one point in time. And like, while it wasn't okay, it was also nice for us to learn that like, hey, like these racist things aren't fair or kind to them. And like, now we have a more fair and balanced view. But now because we can't actually hear grandpa's racist things, people just go out into the forest and they actually get in Ku Klux Klan outfits and like think really horrible, terrible things because you can't just let them have the outlet to say this fucked up stuff in public and have other people be like, hey, that wasn't very nice or thoughtful of you. Maybe there's brown people that are good too. Like to me, that's the craziest thing is that like, there doesn't seem to be any logical imperative where people legitimately just think like, it's always bad that people say these things. And it's like, you realize that like in the 1960s, Nazis literally marched through Jewish neighborhoods of people that survived the Holocaust. And the motherfucker who stood up and was like, these dudes was a dude who survived the fucking Holocaust. And he defended them in front of the fucking Supreme Court, and he fucking won. Because they realized that it's important to actually have sincere and legitimate dialogue with opinions that people don't agree about, even when they're reprehensible and disgusting ideas. And it just blows my fucking mind that somehow we've gotten to this absolute reductionist culture where people are so fucking cucked and limp-dicked that they can't even shove it in the hole to get anything done anymore. It's fucking wild. But, you know, welcome to fucking 2025, guys. I gotta pee and get a beer, so.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm just gonna say that, you know, you're right on track on the rant train, Cason. You know, you really you're bringing the heat right now. I'm into it. Go.
Hey,
drain
really,
that
I want to
vein.
clarify for people, like, I'm like really happy in my life right now. Like shit's like going really well for me. I'm not like an angry person. I'm just really frustrated. Like, we have Bitcoin. It's successful. The nation state can't stop us. Like, if you motherfuckers could actually think for yourselves instead of listening to these fucking pieces of shit on MSNBC who fucking hate you and want to make sure that you stay in the box, you could actually free yourself from this. Like, you could. The other one that blows my fucking mind is because people have no understanding of this at all, and they're like, man, I'm poor, and I hate that, like, the government's constantly stealing fucking money from me despite that I'm poor and I have this, like, small business. It's like, hey, you could, like, accept Bitcoin and you could not tell the government. You like you don't have to pay them if you don't tell them, and you're using something like PayJoin. Like, you could do that and you'd, like, save money. And they're like, but if we keep the government from stealing our money, like, who will build the roads? And
who will steal our money? Who will steal our money then?
Exactly.
Dude,
all right.
Another one.
Do it.
Speaking about stealing money and the system we're going into and what's coming and all that is, Eric's right about the stablecoins. You know, they're going to say it's not a CBDC, but it's going to be a CBDC. It's just going to be controlled by an oligarchy of, you know, bankers like Jamie Dimon. And there's also this new push to. They've realized that, you know, you can expand U.S. hegemony with stablecoins, right? But there's another thing. I think everybody gets that. That's obvious. But there's another thing that you can do as well, which is you can. Okay, so every 10 years, give or take, 8 or 9 years, global M2 expands by 2x, right? I think I'm pretty confident about this, that they're not going to be counting stablecoins in the global M2 metrics. So if you go forward with this proliferation of new stables, and then you run the same, you know, M2 inflation rate that you're used to, you could actually see a world where let's imagine a world over the next 10 years where Bitcoin goes to I don't know, $5 million or something like that. Like, it goes crazy high. And stablecoins proliferate broadly, and there's trillions of dollars of stablecoin usage out there in the broader world, right? I think you might see a world in which global M2 has risen 2x, just like normal. And when you check in on it, you go, okay, everything seems to be, you know, as it usually is. But the stablecoin proliferation is like a surreptitious global M2 expansion that actually ran global M2 at something closer to like 10x or 5x, right? And so I think that's the world that we're headed into here. And, you know, again, all the roads lead to Rome. Like, it all comes back to Bitcoin. And it's like, you know, the best thing that you can possibly do is to have Bitcoin in order to protect yourself from what's coming. But these new tools that the government has access to, like stablecoins, are going to allow them to do things that are just straight up evil. And they're you know, like inflation is global taxation without representation, right? Because we're taxing every country and economy that's dollarized, and we're taxing all Eurodollar holders, and we're taxing American dollar holders, and basically everybody that has dollar exposure across the globe. And so this system that I'm describing is like, you know, extreme taxation without representation at a global level. And I think that we're going to see that happen. And so the best way to protect yourself is to have Bitcoin. But like, I don't think the average person knows what's about to befall them. And it goes back to this thing about like, I wish I could shake them awake, but I can't. And so maybe one of the best things to do is embed Bitcoin in the public markets, which is happening. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to be saved just by sheer dumb luck. You know, the market's efficient, right? Like, passive indexation always wins. Maybe they'll be saved by that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because like, okay, the state, there's a lot to unpack there, Hodl. Okay, where to start? Like, first of all, one thing that I think is interesting, like, Cason, to your earlier point about like, okay, if Bitcoin's at whatever super high millions, multi-million amount, then, like, what is $1 million worth, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I see that, but I think Bitcoin also has so much of the existing, like, present day denominated global wealth to cannibalize first before, like, yeah, it may be true that like later that when Bitcoin's at, I don't know, 50 million a coin, that like, yeah, 50 million doesn't buy what it used to, but like also the market is different at that point, right? But like right now it's like we still have what, 10x to go before we cannibalize gold, right? Like roughly 10x. Yeah. And so like that's, I feel like that's like a low bar. That's like a low bar for Bitcoin recapitalizing
I think it's 20x.
The world. Is it 20x?
I think it's 20x for gold, and I think it's 200x for real estate.
Okay, and oh yeah, either way, Bitcoin's like 2 trillion, and we've got 1,000 trillion in global wealth, like roughly, right? So it's like we're so fucking early from that perspective that it's like, well, yeah, this thing's got so much room to run just in the existing fiat denominated system. It's gonna get, obviously, like they're going to debase, like that we know that they're going to debase, to your point, Hodl, and like, maybe having some passive exposure to MSTR or having IBIT that you're passively exposed to or whatever, maybe it's Fidelity's Bitcoin ETF or whoever's Bitcoin ETF, like that's gonna be great for like the average person who still is going to ignore Bitcoin for the next, like ignore real spot Bitcoin for like the next 20 years still, because they're just, for whatever reason, just not going to, because you can lead a horse to water and you can beat it in the head repeatedly, but you can't make that stupid son of a bitch drink, right?
But we're just speed running the entire development of finance from the 15th century in like 50 years. So like we're just 10x accelerating everything. And so to me, like like what Saylor seems to be the champion of and he's pioneering is like we're going to see the corporatization of Bitcoin and making synthetic financial products. And like the real winner is the person who actually figures out like how do you create like a global debt market that is based on Bitcoin that truly actually has like synthetic free interest rates that like essentially you get like a conglomeration of like treasury companies that essentially like set like a Bitcoin LIBOR kind of rate thing. And furthermore, like how do you get all the things like repo markets and swaps and other things that are like built on actual Bitcoin standard? And like that thing, like once you have that, like now we can suck up the extra $200 trillion of like the global debt markets like into that. And it's a relatively smooth transition. So like at the end of the day, like everything's good for Bitcoin. And so like, yeah, like a bunch of people are going to get absolutely hammer fucked when it comes to being 6102 and like losing a ton of their money. But the hilarious thing is like the dudes who don't have that happen, like their Bitcoin is going to be worth so much more in addition to like, they're going to be able to do a bunch of other shit with that. And very similar to like when the Medici family essentially discovered like, oh, like we can do this like double entry accounting thing and like figure out like what the fuck is going on and then like build debt around it. Like it's just retarded amounts of money that are so large that like you get to start getting people that are building things that are actually good for humanity because like they just have so much money. That's sort of like the last thing that's left to do. And it's kind of interesting that like when people start getting really rich, like it turns out that like you can like go play and like do all of the things that you want to. And if you're not just like an absolute travesty piece of shit human, you like do that for a little bit. And then you realize like, oh, like there's this giant hole in my heart where like I want to actually do something like reasonable and important for my children. So like I'm going to go do that now because like I'm free to do that. And like people that don't, like they will perpetually suck to infinity. And like that's just what they do. And the most interesting and ironic thing is because there's this value realignment that Bitcoiners on a whole tend to have because of how and why they're investing in Bitcoin, they seem to get that much more than other people. So like ultimately, again, everything's good for Bitcoin. This like ultimately aligns with my own philosophical approach of that like, to me, all that Bitcoin really is like it's the fruition of philosophy and the entirety of history coming together. And like that's why cryptography is at the bottom of it. It's not because like, ooh, we're like nerds that like fun math puzzles. It's like No, there's like actually like a 20th century about communism where like 100 million people are literally murdered for their property. So like it actually turns out that like owning property is actually like within the sphere and theater of war itself. And ergo, like protecting your property with cryptography is really, really important because otherwise people will just murder you and take it, as the 20th century told us.
Yep.
Do you think we have to fight another world war, or are we already in the midst of another world war? Like before we get to the end game, like is that a necessary part of what happens next, or is there
Marshall,
a way to avoid that?
Marshall McLuhan, the father of information theory, said that World War III is a nonstop guerrilla information war with no division or distinction between civilian and military participation. That is what we live in right now. It's happening. You're in World War III. This is World War III. You know?
Yeah, and it's a very Clausewitzian thing. It's also like the like where's the delineation between politics and war at? And like isn't politics just war by another means?
Right.
And like isn't that war something that's already being carried out? And like isn't like it like that's essentially why and how we have this highly interdependent global system with like an internet where like we're all in different places hundreds of miles away from each other able to do this, and like that in and of itself is a feature of this territory. And to me, like this is one of the mind-boggling things that I keep coming back to, is that like the internet itself obviously is like not apolitical in any way, shape, or form, but because of the sort of informational hyperwar that we live within, like people can't seem to like link the two together to be like, huh, like maybe this thing that like 6 billion people around the world are on and like interact with every day and has more importance than the nation state itself, like maybe we could like use this thing to like make like a new form of the political, like capital T, capital P, like very similar to the American ideology of like, hey, like it turns out like maybe we should get to like vote on how and why like our system of governance works, and like maybe there should be strong parameters and delineations of like how powerful the nation state could be. And that's one of the things I have like a massive boner about Nostr and Bitcoin and all these things, is that like we're no longer asking for permission. We're just like building these tools that like you fundamentally can't violate in any way. So like we can go say whatever the fuck we want on Nostr and like you can't censor me. Like if I want to send money to like Palestinian dissidents right now, like I can just fucking do that. Like if I would like to like help smuggle people out of North Korea, I can like send the money off to the people in China to help me do that. And like you can't fucking stop me. Oh, you don't like it? Like too bad. Like, oh, you'd like a state of emergency to violate me? You can't. And like
Right.
that, people have very little appreciation for how radically removed that is from contemporary politics.
I have a question for both. Well, go ahead, Hodl, because I'm going to slightly diverge us, into a tangent of what Eric said.
I was just going to say that lately I've been thinking a lot about the Gen Z political sphere. And the Gen Z political sphere, for those who don't keep track of it, is what I would describe as batshit insane. So the Gen Zs are either in this far right sort of Nick Fuentes thing, anti-Semitic, like old school racism, like this sort of direction, or they're in the opposite. Luigi Mangione is a saint. Communist populism, and there's a growing desire for violence on both sides, and I think that the reasons for this are, we could spend an entire podcast talking about them, but what's interesting from our perspective, I think, as Bitcoiners, is that Bitcoin's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to go to millions of dollars a coin. We're going to be the capital of the New World Order. And as the capital stack, we sit on a meta layer above the political stack, and we get to pick and choose winners. So I think it's important to keep abreast of what's going on in the political sphere so that you can know what type of things you might want to back and what type of things you would like to steer clear of, right? I think that's the thing that Bitcoiners need to think about more and more. Right now, we're sort of single issue voters. Like we came to the Donald Trump administration with just like, we like Bitcoin. And then Donald Trump was like, you like Bitcoin, buy my shitcoin, Trump coin, bitch. And we were like, okay, whatever. Like, that's fine as long as we just leave us alone, please, for the love of God. And so, you know, but we're like, you ever see The Incredibles where like the baby Jack has like incredible powers, but he can't control them? We are a super powerful political baby where like we just rose up on this first go round. We were like, oh shit, we can just laser everybody in the room. Shoot, shoot. Like everyone's dead now. We win, right? Like I think
We
like
do have these dead bodies though.
as we go forward, we're going to like be able to flesh out our full potential as a political entity on a global stage and say, what is the global reordering, right? What does it actually look like? What's acceptable in the political economy? What's not? What are the types of projects we're gearing towards? What are we not gearing towards? And I'm not saying that we get to be like the sole arbiters of this sort of thing as some sort of robber barons of the new digital age, but I'm saying that like, you know, Bitcoin is a unique phenomenon in that it made a bunch of culture warriors rich. And we are people that care about the culture war, and we actually care about the structure and shape of our society. And we found something that has a better structure. And, you know, it's like Eric was saying, like, the reason we have buy-in or alignment with each other is because the how and why of why we came to Bitcoin. Well, the how and why of why we all came to Bitcoin is the same thing. It's institutional betrayal. At some point or another, we trusted an institution and got totally ass-reamed because of that choice. And that shared trust of betrayal and trauma is the thing that brought us all to Bitcoin. And so, like, you know, essentially nobody under 40 believes in the mainstream political institutions anymore. Nobody believes in them, okay? And so that lets you know that they're going to fall. And like in a forest, when a tree falls, it's already dead. It keeps its form and structure while it's in decay, right? So like some of these institutions have already died. They just haven't fully disintegrated into the ground yet. And so you have a bunch of people in the political economy who are, you know, racing to occupy the husk of the fallen tree so that they can inherit the ash pile, and they can like parasitically pilot these old dead institutions. And the Bitcoin ethos is fuck that. Let's build the new institutions. Let's build the new world order, right? Like I don't want access to your elite society. This isn't an elite revolution where I'm asking you to be part of your club. I don't want to be in your club. I'm never going to be in your fucking club. I wouldn't join any club that would have somebody like me as a member, okay? So like we have to build our own things, and these things have to work and be orienting for a new global order that's going to emerge in, you know, the crypto world that we're building, right? And so like I think it's very important that you remember that and you think about that as a Bitcoiner and a capital allocator, because Eric's right. Like the Bitcoin story is going to go boom, rocket ship, BlockFi rocket ship. It's going straight up and to the right, okay? And you know all your dreams are going to come true. And then what? And then what? What the fuck are you going to do after you have a Lambo and a mansion? What do you do next? Spend a lot more time thinking about that, because Lambos and mansions come and go. And by the way, like, they're nothing. It's all nothing. It just means nothing. Like, you're flying first class, you're drinking champagne, you're in a Lamborghini. It means fucking nothing. There's no difference between drinking High Lifes and sitting in the back of a Camry and flying Southwest. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. The thing that matters is the world we build, the world we leave behind. Bitcoin's a 1,000-year system. We are going to be we're the new capital allocators of that world, and we're going to be leaving large amounts of Bitcoin and hopefully new ideas and new systems to the people that come after us.
It's interesting that you, because to me, like, it's not even like a cultural. It's like culture and technology are like dynamically feeding back into each other in like a symbiotic relationship. Because like the culture that we've got is explicitly because of the technology, and same thing with the form of politics that we'll create. It's explicitly because of the technology, and like that. To me, this is why this is all like part of a general chain of the historicity of man and like the true history as it was, because like it turns out that like we created this nation state thing that is part of human history, and it turns out that like the way that the forms of legalism works is like explicitly through violence, and the way that it's untethered itself since the end of World War II is that like now it's this gigantic maniacal thing that believes it owns all people, everything, everywhere, forever. And the simple standpoint of saying like yo, like, I don't want to participate in that, like, the thing, like, lasers in on you, and like, oh, like, you're, like, an enemy of me, like, I must destroy you because, like, I can't have power over you. And it turns out that, like, that function inherently breaks in the digital paradigm where we have cryptography. Like, you can't do anything about it. Like, if I've encrypted something, like, you can't, like, be like, well, state of emergent, like, backdoor exception, haha. Like, doesn't work that way. It's just a feature of how fucking math works. And I think because of the way that we've came to understand that, and what cypherpunkism is like getting culturally that, like, that's part of the world paradigm that we have, you know? And so I think as this continues to develop, like, because more and more people seem to understand that and get it, and, like, having watched this happen for more than a decade, it's been really interesting to, like, in the beginning, it's like, oh, like, I'm, like, a fucking insane person. And then I meet somebody like Jesse, and I'm like, oh, like, another insane person. Like, whoa. And now it's like, hey, now there's, like, 8 of us, and 16, and 32. And, like, now there's a fuck ton of us, and we all sort of get the same thing, and we also get the same pathway. But even more importantly is that, like, that contrasted against the dark nihilism of, like, what it means to be a slave in fiat society versus, like, we have a form of empowerment. Like, I no longer want to tell you what to do. Like, I want to welcome you into freedom and liberation. And that speaks to people in a radically different way than anything else. And I honestly think, like, the greatest challenge that's going to come about is just getting people to actually do the work and think for themselves, which I don't think we'll ever win. Like, I think we'll always be a minority. And that's one of the reasons that, like, I've had people very pedantically push me. They're like, you have to do as much as you can to educate the masses about this as possible. And I always go back to being like, look, there's, like, tons of people like Walker who do a really great job with that. Like, that's not my shtick. Like, my shtick is for the people that are already deeper, is to, like, shove them deeper into that and have them get that, like, it's not just number go up. It's not just getting rich. It's not just implementing these new forms that, like, make people freer and give us, like, libertarianism. It's like, this is about exploding the entire paradigm that we would call politics and borders and nation states to, like, implement something radically different and new, in the same way that, like, in the 1730s, if you're like, hey, like, maybe this king is bullshit, and, like, maybe we should all, like, figure out a new way to, like, create politics, people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how would that even work in any meaningful sense? But, like, this is where we're at. And yeah, like, today versus maybe 10 years ago, like, I feel so much more compelled and inspired that, like, we are going to win. The big question now is like, on what time span is that going to be? Who are going to be the people that implement it? And, like, how is this going to manifest itself?
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, because this feeds into what both of you had said earlier, but just, like, thinking of this idea of, like, what is the structure that is to come, like, and what part do Bitcoiners play in it as these new capital allocators with a great amount of economic energy and, like, a completely different set of priorities and a completely different worldview than the pre-existing structure creators. Like, I'm curious, maybe Cason first, if, like, some of what you were describing earlier is, like, kind of similar to, like, Balaji's thesis of, like, the network state. But also, like, the network state is basically just plagiarizing Snow Crash. Neil Stephenson's not, like, it is like that. It's basically, you're just describing, like, Balaji's all the respect to him, but he's just describing Snow Crash. Like, that's,
I like Balaji a lot. Like, I haven't found anything extraordinarily original. I found high amounts of that exact same thing.
So I guess my question is, do we go towards a Snow Crash future, but it's, like, a little bit less dystopian than Snow Crash? Or, like, how do you actually see that shaking out? Like, is there kind of the disintegration of the nation state as it exists today and a fragmentation into very, very small nation states and corporate, state as a service providers? Or, like, how do you actually see, like, what does that actually look like? Or does the existing paradigm just kind of continue and just, like, we kind of just kick that can down the road despite Bitcoin existing, despite the fragmentation that we see?
I mean, again, it's, like, all time scale. So, like, I definitely think that, like, the nation state as an entity on a whole is dead because of the way that, like, it fundamentally relies on fiat, and, like, fiat is also fundamentally dead because of how that functions. So like there's like a number of different possibilities that we have. And I actually think like the one that's going to be the most interesting is like I'm a big fan of like the great man of history thesis of that like I think somebody will actually rise up at some point in time and realize that like attaching ourselves to Bitcoin as this thing that we can use to essentially ram a new form of the political down the throats of everybody else. And like you don't have to agree with it. And again, like this is where we start getting into my weird fourth political theory stuff of that like I and again, like returning to like at the deepest levels, like I think Bitcoin's totally a form of communism. I think it's just like that form of communism is legitimate insofar that like it's the deepest form of scientific socialism that there is, and that like Bitcoin is the form of i.e. socialism that we've chosen. Of that like we've just chosen the social sciences that like we should use cryptography and game theory and all of this technology in order to implement what we believe is the most fair and just and magnanimous society for man. We're just doing it with this other thing. And this goes into political theory of that like communism and anarchism were like a single movement up until Marx presented the Communist Manifesto and the idea of the dictatorship of the proletariat. And Bakunin was like, yo, like the nation state, like the state's the thing that we can't use. Like, go fuck yourself. And Marx was like, fine, we'll like use the state and like we'll make communism. Because also, to be clear, the idea of communism is a stateless society. Like, it's not to get some gigantic rogue thing that has power over everything. It's to make sure that there is no more classes. And like Bitcoin, literally because of how it anonymizes everything vis-a-vis cryptography, it literally makes a classless structure. So like, I actually think that like, that's really important. And also like, it drives me fucking crazy that no liberals have actually attached onto this and like done an applied thoughtful thing with Marxism. Me and Ben Ark have had some really great conversations about like how we should just like spend a month diving in to like do a Marxist analysis of Bitcoin to essentially explain how it implements communism vis-a-vis a anarchist lens. But that's like a bunch of fucking work and effort that like I'm not necessarily interested in. Like I like the shtick that I'm on right now.
It's a good
yeah,
shtick.
and also like that's why we're building sort of what we are at Vora is because like we believe that the only way to get to this place is to like actually have like your revolution in a box that like is this sovereign server that like has all of these cryptographic primers that can't be broken. Whether or not that works, I don't know. But also like in this grand paradigm, I still think America's like the winner that takes all. But I think the difference is that like we need some sort of radical, and I don't even want to call it a third party, but like again, I return to the Article 5 argument of that like we need to essentially use states to fuck up the federal government and like change the Constitution with Article 5. And then we get a totally different political structure that can actually serve a revolutionary agenda around the world because most nation state entities have a larger federal thing with states underneath it. And so if you can radicalize states to fight their own federal government and then create a solidarity that happens horizontally globally, like now we're cooking with gas and we got some fun shit in the line.
Man, we need to have another podcast where we just do a deconstruction of well, you know what we do? We try real communism this time. We try real communism with Bitcoin. Because this time real communism might work. Perhaps not Marxist communism, but yeah.
Well, anarcho-communism.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And you know, just so you know, earlier when I said that communists were just as bad or worse than Nazis, I wasn't talking about you, Cason. I just want you to know.
That's fine. Like like communists are just as evil as Nazis because like both of them are because same thing like National Socialism as the Nazis imagined it like is not a functional political system.
Right.
Like these are all just like a bunch
Shockingly,
of fancy words that we use to like give a specific class of people power to like murder and hurt other people. Turns out that like with cryptography, 1, because it's digital, 2, because of how it anonymizes things, and 3, because of the protections that it gives, like it's like non-functional in that theater. And so again, this is one of the things I've been working on is with the fourth political theory, because like to be clear, like the current global world order that we exist within is all neoliberal. Like whether it's North Korea or China or Iran or the United States, like it's all part of a giant neoliberal world order. And it's really important to understand like neoliberalism is what liberalism has stated it is, but it's inherently a fucking lie. It's like telling you that because it's just like a thieving maniacal, individualistic thing where you have like a collection of selfish people that all just want to make money, and that's the final objective. And like it's impossible for it ever to tell the truth, because like that's the thing that it's incapable of. Like it can't tell truth. Like that's its sort of linchpin. And so that means that like if all prior political theories are dead, let's like pick and choose what we like from all of them, which to me that's part of Bitcoin, is that like it's taking the most extreme parts of communism, the most extreme parts of fascism, and synthesizes them in order to make the most extreme form of liberalism that's ever existed. And that like all of these things amalgamated together like is essentially Bitcoin, in the exact same way that like Bitcoin is anarcho-capitalism, which like that was like a misnomer and like contradictory up until the existence of Bitcoin. There was no way to have a money that was not tied to the nation state before Bitcoin. It's just what Satoshi created was so incredible, innovative, and original that like it actualized that, which to me, this is also what unwinds and unpacks the entire historicity of man, its relationship to war, violence, and the law, and how what Bitcoin is like essentially ends all of those things at once.
Fuck yeah, man. Has real capitalism ever been tried?
A long time ago.
Yeah, and like it's very different because like the moment that we had the implementation of the nation state itself, like that sort of ended. And so like that's again why crypto sovereignty sort of starts with a reading of Hobbes, is because Hobbes was really representative of like the first implementation of what we could call statism. And it's not to say that like monarchism had a strange relationship to it, but it was only once gold got fully appropriated as this object that was been backed by fiat monies. And like that was tried a bunch of times in history. And like I'm sure you're aware of like when the Chinese tried it in the 12th century. Yeah, and like essentially they like tried to make fiat money. It totally failed. And then even more interesting is that like after it failed, they're like, oh, the most brutal and barbaric sort of forms of torture need to be carried out on anybody that issues paper money. It was stuff like we got to crush their balls and rip their fingers off and like rip their eyes out and shit. It was like not friendly. Yeah.
Moderate even, truly.
You know, I think they were right on the money there. Now, man, it's going to be really fascinating to kind of see, like, I feel like we're at this really, like, I'm very grateful to be alive at this moment in space and time, because it feels like it's somewhat surreal. Like, it's also not, it's very real. Like I'm pretty sure, like, you know, this all feels pretty real, but like, it's genuinely wild that we get to be here to witness this transition. And I can't imagine how dark and depressing things would be if Bitcoin didn't exist, because I don't know that I would have a lot of hope for what comes next. And I think things are going to get really, really messed up. And I've said this before, and eventually I'll formalize it into a nice thesis that I'll write in a piece and I'll publish on Substack. But until then, I'll just spout it. But I think we're at this, like, we have this moment of cyclical convergence that is made all the more ferocious by Bitcoin. So we've got, like, obviously, like, the fourth turning, like, everybody knows about the fourth turning, right? And that's like supposed to be happening, you know, like the end of that turning is like in the 2030 range. But you've also got like I don't know if you're familiar with like the Kondratiyev waves or Kondratiyev cycles. The Russians killed him because he basically showed that, like, well, it turns out capitalism just like kind of like does this free market thing, and then like it works, and it actually works out better than like communism and state controlled economies. And so they killed him. And then his theories emerged later. And then we've also got, like, you know, the long-term debt cycles that Ray Dalio talks about. And then you've got like the fiat currency cycles, and you've got, you know, we can get into like solar cycles as well here if you want to get, you know, in tectonic cycles. There's like it feels like there is,
and then there are so many, the singularity is rapidly approaching.
While
we
have like a cycle.
Like there.
Mayan
there
calendar.
So
did the world
cycles.
End in 2012? Like, did it? It might have.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. Maybe
my
because
thesis
shit's
is
getting
that
wild.
like what happened in 2012 is Bitcoin actually achieved full decentralization, and it couldn't be stopped.
There you go. That was when Max Kaiser said it became sentient at block 300,000. So
shit,
that would probably line up. We should check. Somebody should.
How dark do you think things get in the near term? Versus, like, I think we're all of the opinion that things will get better in the long term. How dark do you think things get? Not to be a downer, but like how dark?
I'll take this one. So I mean, my heuristic here for a while and still has been that both political sides in America are in what I call the race to Hitler, right? And, essentially that you have to do a Hitler because you think the other side is going to do a Hitler. So you got to put in your own Hitler before they do a Hitler, right? And that's sort of where we're at. And when you look at like a lot of the extreme political beliefs coming out of younger people, people are in a win or die predicament. That's how extreme the politics have gotten. So it's not this sort of thing where, oh yeah, well, Bob's a Democrat, but he's a good guy. We have Bruce, every now and then, right? Whatever. It's not like that anymore. Like there's this thin veneer of trade keeping our civilization together. So the economy is the only thing keeping us together. Democrats and Republicans are living in entirely different spheres where they actually despise each other and believe that the other one has nothing but malintent in their heart for them and their country, right? And so when the thin veneer of trade goes away, when there is some sort of a crisis, monetary crisis, I don't think we're in for anything good. I think we're in for, a Caesar. I think we're in for a Hitler. I think we're in for a Stalin. I don't know what the flavoring of authoritarianship is or totalitarianism is, but I think we get an American totalitarian. Now, the benevolent version is a Caesar, and the malevolent versions are Stalin or Hitler or whatever. But like, it seems that fascism, communism in some form is desperate to be tried in America, and that younger people don't believe in the political systems or the institutions that they're being left, and so they're going to jettison them. And in many cases, like I said, they're already dead. So this idea of like what comes next, American fascism or American anarchy, I think you get both potentially simultaneously. And the winning move, if you're, an American, is sort of to make it through relatively unscathed. Like you won't be able to turn the volume to 0, but maybe you can turn it to 5 if you, guard your time, attention, energy well and are in a physical space that allows you to do so. Meaning you got to move to Montana and turn off your phone. Like that's the simple version of the story. So listen, I don't want to prognosticate any of this. Like these are things I don't want to say. These are things I think I don't want to say these out loud. But I'm saying them out loud because maybe somebody can hear them and figure out like, shit, Hodl might actually be right. And this might actually happen. And I should actually take steps to protect myself from what's coming. Because it just doesn't seem like anything good is coming, man. When you talk about all the cycles unfolding, I mean, the debt cycle that Ray Dalio talks about is a big one. Like, we are in the unwind of the debt cycle. And in the unwind of the debt cycle, like, politics gets hyper partisan and then people do violence against each other. Like, that's what happens. So long-term, medium, long-term, like Eric's idea of what I'm going to call the Mr. Potato Head political economy, where we take a little piece of communism and a little piece of fascism and a little piece of anarchism, and we stick them all together on a potato head that looks like Greg Zash. Shout out Greg Zash. I think that is preferred, and that is the world that we should strive to create as Bitcoiners, where we don't join the chaos. It's like back to the thing I was talking about us being capital allocators. Like, do your best not to join in on the chaos of the day. Do your best to make it through unscathed and to be able to pick up the pieces, when everything is ready to be rebuilt. Like, we're not really in a rebuilding time. We're kind of in a time where people are tearing things down. But there will be, we will come out on the other side. Like, the world never ends. Every generation thinks the world is going to end because they're going to die. The boomers think that now. And when you talk to boomers, you get a lot of doomerism coming out of them because their lives are ending. 10, 15 years from now, the world is over for them. Like, it all goes black. And then, you probably go to hell. Most of you. I'm just kidding.
I'm not.
But like, it's not, I fucking hate you boomers. Anyway, it's nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Everything is cyclical. Everything, transforms. And, like Eric said, the neoliberal world order, which basically is a cover story for the largest theft ever known to mankind. There's, they're stealing from every human being on earth every time they hit the print button on, the fiat central bank computer. That is coming to an end because people just simply can't stand it anymore. It has reached its inevitable conclusion, or it's very near its inevitable end state. And I just don't think it's going to go on for that much longer, especially once the boomers are gone, because they're the only ones who are deeply in love with it. Everybody else is like, fuck it, who needs it,
I forgot a cycle, guys. I just have to say also Polybius is anacyclosis. We're nearing the oglocracy stage, which is a fancy word for mob rule, which comes after democracy. So sorry, I needed to throw, Cason, go ahead, but I needed to throw the other cycle in there that I forgot. Shout out to Polybius. You've been dead for a few thousand years, but you're a homie.
Good homie. There's like a few distinct outcomes that we get. One is like essentially like extreme right-wingism, which like manifests as like a form of Nazism and like reactionary Hitlerism, which like there's like a pretty good opportunity for that. Same thing, like we can have highly reactionary left-wingism. I remember like a decade ago when I was like tripping my fucking face off at Burning Man, I had this like whole vision of like a form of essentially like youth communism, where it's like essentially like everyone under 30 gets to like select a house they want and just like kill the boomers that are in that, and like totally legitimate. Like you just get to murder those people and take their shit. Yeah, like fuck them. Like they contribute to the fact that you don't get a home, so pick the one out you like and fucking kill the family that lives there. Like totally kosher. Red Guard's going to protect you. It's great. So like those are two extremely dark outcomes. Another one is like we get what we have today right now, but essentially like the elites that are like part of, and it's kind of interesting because like in this, there's like a very interesting sort of civil war that's going on between like Teal Palantir Network and like some of like, I don't know, it's like the new tech money versus like the old like inflationary oligopolism money. So like they're in their own little war. Teal Palantirianism like wins that war if they do that. Or there's actually like a third way that can be like a pretty interesting like middle of the road Orange Party Bitcoiner thing, but it means like we have to actually get our shit together, organize in a meaningful way. I don't know if I want to do that. That's like a lot of time and effort and energy, and there's like a lot.
You guys would have to run.
Focus.
You're top of the ticket. Come on,
that's right.
Well, it's not even running. It's like maybe doing that as like a lampoony kind of thing, but it's actually like building out like a new political movement that's like, look, like owning Bitcoin is politics now. Like one of the things I love doing in San Francisco is when people are like, oh, like how do you vote? I'm like, I don't vote. Like you actually believe that makes a difference? They're like, how could you not vote? I'm like, please tell me who I vote for that doesn't murder the brown people. Like, please tell me, like, is it, like, neither the blue or red people won't kill the brown people? Like, I thought you were liberal and, like, gave a shit about the brown people. But, like, you elect people that murder the brown people, too? Like, oh, my God. And they're like, well, don't you care about climate change? And I'm like, well, yeah. And like, that's explicitly why I won't vote, is because neither of them like end the U.S. war machine, which like contributes the most to carbon in the world and like is creating the greatest amount of climate change. Like, don't you love the environment? So like, why are you voting for people that continue to give money to the war machine? That's really weird. I thought you cared about people, huh?
It's called the petrodollar. Petro. It's right there in the name.
See, like, come on, guys.
You
got to get this. I'm afraid the truth is that like Bitcoiners actually have to get our shit together and like do that, because I don't see there being any other class. And the other thing that's way more important that like I always try to point out to people that is like very inflammatory and they don't like is that like I am inherently freer than like you are, because like I don't rely on my bank account for money and you do. Like ergo, like there's somebody that can be like, you can't have your money now, and there isn't somebody that does that to me. So like I can say inflammatory stuff that like Donald Trump has obviously raped children on Epstein Island, which is why the Epstein files weren't released, because like he likes to fuck underage girls. Like that's true. And like, to be fair though, he's just maintaining political tradition of the presidency. You know, like we all know, going all the way back to Clinton, that like if you're going to be president of the United States, you have to rape underage children. Like that's just part of the game. Sorry, guys.
This is getting banned from YouTube so fast.
Absolutely. That's always totally the goal.
Cool. I know.
Yeah, you know, and like that's always why I come back to people being like, look, like I'm sorry that you thought Trump was the Messiah. Like if the Messiah is raping little children, I'm not sure how much I want to be saved by them, but that's something we should think about.
There's my
same
pull
thing that
quote.
like
There's my pull quote right there for the episode.
that's gonna be great. So like it's really kind of a question for us, and like again, like Bitcoiners are sort of the reigning champions, irregardless of the 21st century. Which also, it's kind of ironic that it's the 21st century where we have these 21 million Bitcoins that sort of determine an outcome. I don't know, weird stuff. But with that being said, like I hem and haw about it a lot. It seems like it'd be pretty great, but like I gotta have like a good crew of people around me that are like encouraging me and like wanting all of this success. And like I do really want it too. It's just like it's a lot of effort and time and sacrifice, and like there's like a lot of personal focus that comes in on it that like I'm not sure I'm prepared for.
Are we talking about YouTube being like running on the same ticket? Is that what we're talking about still? Because
listen,
like, what I love about both of you guys is neither of you are on Epstein's list, and I know that like with certainty. I don't know that about anyone.
I did go to that party at Michael Saylor's house though, so who knows what list one might be. I don't just kidding. But
shit.
Listen, bro.
It was a nice party.
I don't want to run for president, but I will. Okay, don't fucking make me do it. Don't make me do it.
I know you both will.
I have this very like George Washington-esque sense where like if the people demanded I would be president, then I would just be like, well, now I have to be president. You know, like fucking I don't want to be, but like I would do it if demanded, you know.
I can handle a John Adams kind of role. I'm okay with that. I mean, like the thing that kind of sucks that the truth is that like, and this is one of the ones that hurts the most is like, our parents completely fucking betrayed us, top to bottom. It's one of the reasons we can't have conversations with them about this because like the truth is that they're 100% to blame for all of the bad shit that happened. They constantly try to be like, what was I like? What you were supposed to do is you're supposed to say fucking no. Like you were actually supposed to continue to resist. And they're like, but we protested in 78 at the Democratic Convention. It's like, great. Like now you pick up arms and you actually have a full-on rebellion. Like, I'm sorry. It's like not a nice answer, but like that's what you were supposed to do. But you know what you did instead? You took the money and you decided that you were going to get a house at a cheap rate and buy it up and watch everything inflate to high heaven and play this fucking game. And yeah, it's really sad and painful. But I think that that's part of the political concourse that we're in is like, I'm pretty sure in 1762, people were like, hey, the king's totally fucking us. Like, we're supposed to have representation when we're taxed. And, like, they don't even give us a fucking representative in parliament. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, we love the king. We want to be part of the British Empire. But, like, we also don't want to get taxed at the fucking wazoo. Because, like, can you believe it? They're trying to take 3%, 3 goddamn percent of the tea that we're drinking. Those motherfucking pieces of shit are stealing 3% of our income. Meanwhile, like we're like lubing up our assholes here that we can get 2/5 in. We're like 45%, baby. Like, let's go.
It's genuinely insane. Like it's actually nuts when you think about it. It's like, so I work like basically 50% of my time, like essentially half my time. We let's roll all the taxes in together, right? Basically 50% of my life's blood, my blood, sweat, and tears, my energy just goes right to the government. Who does what with it? Builds roads. I live in Illinois. Like, you ever driven on the roads in Illinois? You ever driven the roads in Chicago? They're very bad. They're just always potholes, like everywhere, always, nonstop. Like, it is insane. It's like, no, the government doesn't fucking build roads.
From the Roman Empire that like still exist, but like it's usually within 3 years that we have to like repave the asphalt. So like, even if the government is building the roads, they're like really, really, really fucking bad at it, which is like another heuristic we should probably discuss. But at the end of the day, like, the sad truth is that like, yeah, like the money isn't going to the roads. It's like going to like help murder brown people and like choose your jurisdiction. Like there's totally white people that are murdered too by our weapons. Like
sure,
turns out that like
we're equal
most of the
opportunities
in Russia,
destroyers of humans. Yeah.
We're equal opportunity murderers.
It's
but the sad truth is that like
DEI, you know, like our bombs don't our bombs are colorblind, really. Like they'll blow you up no matter what.
Yeah, whoever's gonna make money from it, it's okay. And like the honest truth is like I don't know how a sincere dialogue happens like this, but I also know like because like Elon Musk had his whole thing for a while, like we're gonna do the America Party, but like let's be fair, like he's part of this network in various ways and capacities, whether or not he likes it. And at the end of the day, like it has to be a grassroots movement. It has to be Bitcoiners because unless the relationship between state and money is broken, like there can't be a fundamental political change. And like fiat is the true communism of the 20th century. Like that's why it's a global thing. That's why it's happened everywhere. That's why every single fucking military on the planet is literally financed through these fiat means. Like there's like nowhere on earth where people are like, yeah, like let's give 30% of our GDP to the military. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, nowhere did anybody ever make that agreement. Which also, like, that's the really beautiful thing, in my opinion, is that like what we're talking about isn't batshit crazy stuff. Like, in fact, like 90% of humanity is in total agreement with us. And now we have this great thing called the internet, and we have this great way to communicate called Nostr, where like we can do that in a censorship resistant way that like there's an actual possibility that we could save the world from the global panopticon and totalitarianism that's coming, but that's going to demand a lot of effort and sacrifice in a way that's different. And to be clear, George Washington, who's obviously the greatest fucking man who ever lived, which was validated by the most powerful man who ever lived at the time, King George III, like he made massive sacrifices where like he lost his only fucking child. He lost his farm. He lost most of his fortune. Like there was a lot of really bad shit that happened to George Washington, and he still made it happen. And for any fuck out there who's like, well, George Washington, no, like George Washington pretty much single fucking handedly decided that the American Revolution was going to happen, and like read into like how Valley Forge played out and like why he was such an essential piece to like making sure that the entire Continental Army didn't collapse. But with that being said, like I think there's an opportunity. I'd like to participate in it. I have trepidations and hesitations about it because, you know, like murdering me and shit for that reason would be like a pretty good idea. But anyways, fuck it. Like we only got one life to live, right? So
We're
YOLO,
gonna die
let's, like, change
anyway.
everything.
We're gonna fucking
And
die
also,
anyway.
like, the
Might as well do
contemplation
it.
of that death is important, and it would be pretty badass if in like 2040,
Super
and like,
badass.
yeah, if in like the 25th century, like my great grandkids were like still riding on the coattails of like the Cason family name, being super corrupt douchebags that were all needed to get their heads chopped off and end our lineage. But like,
It is.
yeah,
It is an
it was
interesting.
like a 30 generation run. It wasn't so bad.
I've thought about this before, that if you were to run for president, you know, or really any high political office, you actually, in order to do it correctly, have to be willing to die. It's the only way that you can do it correctly. If you're not willing to die, you're going to be corrupted and co-opted almost immediately. First day, right? First hour, first minute. So it's only somebody who does have the courage to step in and say, I will risk my own life. I will gamble with my life in order to save. And that, I guess that's probably where the great man theory of history comes from, is that it's very rare that an individual decides to gamble with their life for the collective, you know? It's very rare, right? It happens occasionally, but not that often.
Man, it's wild too that George Washington was like, after all of that sacrifice and then after emerging victorious, and could have very well easily been like, yeah, I'll just take a few extra terms. He was just like, nah. Now my time's done. Like that, in my mind, like that's what cements him, right? As like a truly, like the ability to step away. But then it's like also like, boy, in the modern context, it's like, maybe you don't want to step away. Like I don't even know.
There was an American
we've been
painter.
Running late, so we're running late, so I don't even know if I'm going to get into this next part. So you do it. Hodl, excuse me, Jesus. I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, there was an American painter in London. I can't remember his name, but you know, he was painting in the palace, and King George asked him what George Washington would do after the war was over. Now that the war was concluding, and the painter said, you know, I'm hearing, you know, tale that he'll go home to his farm and you know, tend to his affairs there. And King George said, if he does that, he will become the greatest person in history. And then he did it, you know. So yeah,
fucking badass.
So yeah, man.
I mean, like I think the truth is that like men of dignity and courage like understand like that's like the thing that you do to like achieve that. And like I think it's really interesting. Like they're in contemporary dialogue, the idea of what glory is completely extinct. Like there's no conversation whatsoever about doing something glorious, and like it's like a very weird terminology to bring up, but it's really
Yeah.
interesting that it actually does still exist. And like people who are trying to like beat extreme sports records or other things, they're like truly entering into like doing a glorious thing in order to like make that level of achievement, but it's not discussed in that way. And so like glory is actually this very real feature that also like if you like it's really interesting if you actually read about the American Revolution, the people who participated in it, and also pretty much all wars before the 20th century, like glory was actually a primary component of their
Yeah.
motivation for the engagement in it. And that's just like not even anywhere in the dialogue now.
There are only three reasons for war, really. In antiquity, and it's God, gold, or glory, or some combination of all three, right? And that
Well, and it's
and
really
now in a fiat forever war context, that's been completely lost.
well, it's funny. I have like another essay or book or whatever you want to call that I've worked on it that like essentially since the Civil War, that like war itself is this thing that is unrelational to classic war. That like it's just like a module of murder for money, but also like it's something that is self-perpetuating and that like that's the only feature it has, and that like there is no winning at all. And Hannah Arendt has this really interesting essay where she talks about like what the nuclear age implemented was this idea of like the total eradication of all people within a certain sphere, and like it can't ever be occupied again for hundreds of years. Like that's a very specialized form of insanity that like there's no winning at all in that. It's just something different. And this also goes to the heuristics of like what the Vietnam War was, is that like because of the way that the partisan and the general population blended into each other, like we didn't have a heuristic of like if we were winning or not, other than just like pure body count, which like obviously is something that is unrelational to war on a whole. But it goes to speak to like literally like what we're in now is like when we speak about infinite wars, like it's not actually even relational to war. It's just like this gigantic murderous thing of like literally like bodies for money, which is like a pretty sickening thing on a whole. And again, to be clear, like that's the fundamental substrate of like how the global world order works. And it's funny because like I feel a lot of pity for liberals because like I feel like their heart is in the right place and they want the right thing, but like they're a little bit like the Tin Man, or like is the Scarecrow or the Tin Man, the one without a brain but a heart? Like they have the heart but not the brain.
Yeah.
The Scarecrow has no brain. The Tin Man has no heart, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that kind of makes sense because the Tin Man's like a soldier. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like where their heart is, but they're not thinking at all about it. And like that's the thing I really love glitching liberals out on is like I feel you. Like people, like brown people shouldn't be murdered. But like let's observe the heuristics of like how that is happening. And like let's be clear that like it's because we have this giant war machine that's financed explicitly by like you paying taxes and like being like a good little citizen that's like gonna do that and like is willing to be like, oh, like now that my blue people were elected and like they are gonna give us some sort of social program here that like that is now appropriate. So yeah, like I hope there's like some great plebeian out there who's like, I'm gonna build the Orange Party and like run with this fucking like whole heart to you, totally support. If you want to like rope our asses in somehow, you can, but like you're probably gonna have to be like a self-sovereign Bitcoiner in some way. Because also like I think that's the lower bound threshold is that like you have to be self-sovereign with your wealth through Bitcoin to do this. Because like to be clear, like once any traction happens at all, like the powers that be will freak out and like ending your bank account is the first thing. Like isn't that what they did with Fuentes? They like ended his bank account, so they made him
got
into a rat.
debanked. Yeah. All the groypers, all his followers got debanked. Kanye got debanked.
Yeah, and it's wild to me that like these things happen and people are like couldn't happen to me. It's like
it happened to anybody.
Yeah, like why don't you just like think for yourself?
By the way, I debanked myself because there's fucking no money in the bank account.
Good.
My wife,
Good job.
My wife keeps being like, Do we really have to? I've had the card gets declined like 2 or 3 times a month. I'm like, babe, that's just the way we're living. Okay, it's opportunity cost, babe. All right, you got to understand, babe. We can't keep a lot in fiat, babe. Can't keep a lot, babe. We're in a bull market, babe. You know, it's all that.
Do you
kind
still stack as psychopathically as you once did, Hodl? Have you ever stopped stacking psychopathically?
Well, it made it. No, I mean, yes, I don't stack psychopathically anymore. I had to go further out on the risk curve in order to try and make more Bitcoin. And so the way I stack these days is in Bitcoin startups, which are fucking ridiculous. Eric knows they're ridiculously risky. And then, you know, in trying to do treasury company trades and things of that nature, which is, you know, are ridiculously risky. And so I've had to go much further out on the risk curve in order to try and meaningfully increase my Bitcoin position. And after 4 years of doing this, I can say that I have outperformed Bitcoin. I did the math. I did a calculation on this recently by 15%,
Damn.
which is not,
Wow.
no, it's not very much.
Yeah, it's not a
It's
good
not
thing.
very good.
Yeah, like,
It's not worth
because like for all
it
this
wasn't
time
worth
and effort, he could have just.
But you
exactly,
still outperformed
exactly.
Bitcoin. My point is that you did it at all. Like, what else are you going to do?
Dude,
Like-
listen, I'm a privileged insider who knows everybody in Bitcoin, who has access to the deals and blah, blah, blah. And I was able to do 15%. It's not worth it. It's not fucking worth it. Like,
Yeah,
It's funny
but
that this shit happens to me late at night sometimes, where I'm like, oh my god, like I have to have an investment plan. I have to like set up my trust, my 401k, and like I have to do the whole paranoid schizophrenic thing, and and I'm like, shut the fuck up. You have the most asymmetric bet in human history on your side that you have constantly proven to yourself is right. Like even just looking over the last month, you know, like we outperformed pretty much everything. And the fact that like I do that at a standstill by sitting on my hand. Like I frequently will wake up and be like, oh, I like made more money than I did in my normal life than I did before by doing nothing. Like, what does that mean? Which to me, it implements a very specific form of nihilism of like how retarded this whole world of finance is and how wrong it is and what a gigantic scam it is. It's very similar to the gold thing. Like if you look at gold's performance since the year 2000, it's like outperformed the S&P 500 ridiculously. And so it's like you can do that whole insane schizophrenic shell game, or you can just like hold a bearer asset for like a long period of time and you like win. And it's just, I don't know. It like fucks with me a lot because it's like, what does it mean that the entire financial paradigm that we've created is essentially a fiction where instead of like think about the entirety of CNBC and all the financial markets and Wall Street, like all of this shit that's about trying to teach you how to make money can literally just be replaced by the sentence of like, just hold Bitcoin. Like that's it. And I get that like there's a certain level of faith you have to have in that, but also like that's where logic comes in, is that like you have to be like, I understand that I have feelings, and those feelings are trying to influence the outcome of my belief about these things. But there's also logic and backtesting, and like we can provably say over the last 20 years that gold has outperformed the S&P 500, that Bitcoin since its existence has outperformed the S&P 500, that the CAGR rate of these things outperforms the S&P 500. So like maybe we should just do that. But like, I don't want to shit on anybody. Like, if you want to engage in your paranoid schizophrenic game that is inherently allowing for this system of systematic abuse to exist, like you can, but you're participating in all of our general slavery. And so you should maybe think about that, particularly if you're one of these people who wants to come to me and be like, you won't immediately say that Donald Trump is actually literally Hitler and he is implementing the Holocaust right now. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say that because I don't think he's literally Hitler. I don't think he's principled enough to be a fascist. But furthermore, like, you actually support a system that does inherently help a genocidal system exist. So, like, that just, I don't know. Like, maybe you should look at that. Just a suggestion. Just a suggestion.
The Bible says that you should keep a third of your wealth in gold, a third of your wealth in real estate, and a third of your wealth in your business. And honestly, that advice is 2,000 years old. It's fucking great advice. Like if you just replace gold with Bitcoin and you did that, you would just be super prosperous. Like your FA ain't going to tell you that shit. The Bible's got you covered though, dog. Like it's just like the simplest things in the world. Like the portfolio, who outperforms, like in which investor group outperforms? dead people because their fucking portfolios don't move. Okay, so it's just like doing nothing is the key, and that's my whole point. Is like I didn't say I outperformed Bitcoin by 15% to be like, look at me, I'm sophisticated, whatever. Like no, it's like right, no, it was not worth my time or effort, and I fucking just pissed away a bunch of hours I could have otherwise spent doing anything else that I actually enjoyed with my life. And the extra 15% is fucking meaningless. It's marginal. So why did I feel compelled to do it in the first place? Wasted
Yeah,
time.
it's like you took all this time and effort to scale Everest when you could just like take the escalator.
Right.
And like I
Exactly.
get there's some satisfaction about scaling Everest, but like the escalator is like a really
I had
great
no satisfaction from this. When I did the math on how much I had made, when I added up the wins and losses, I was like, this sucks. Fuck this. Why did I even do this? You know?
Okay, yeah, but by the same token, we I think all three of us know that you're not doing what you do right now because you're like, I'm gonna like, this is a purely like, I'm gonna make as much money as I can thing. You're doing this also because you are trying to like invest in companies that you believe in, even though you know those companies are probably not gonna perform better than the hurdle rate of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's the
Like,
the justification. That's the justification you tell yourself as a Bitcoin startup investor. You're like, well, if it doesn't work out, you know, I'm doing it for Bitcoin. You know,
I'm in it for the tech. I'm in it for the tech. It's not for the money. It's the tech. Oh man, dudes, this was I've kept you guys here for a while now, but I appreciate both of you coming on here. These are always these group therapy sessions are always wonderful. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to close with, to leave people with, send people? Hodl, you want to show any of your startup investments, or Cason, you want to show Vora, or like
I'm trying to
rant about anything else? Yeah,
I'm trying to shill a Noster business at the end of every every pod I go on for free. So check out Oshi on Noster, OSHI. They have all sorts of yummy dessert things and like nut butter stuff. Yeah, it looks good. So check out Oshi. It's exclusive. It's a Noster only. Yeah, nut butter. It's a Noster only business. It's a Noster only business, I think. And I haven't sampled the product yet, but I'm gonna order some. Everybody else says it's fucking amazing. Check it out, Oshi.
You're gonna sample some nut butter, huh?
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes. This is the topic of your next vlog.
Nut butter. It tastes yummy.
I'll shill Vora.io. That's like the company that me and Jesse Posner are building. Like we're essentially trying to build like the unicorn thing that everybody wanted, which essentially is like from silicon to software, like a fully open source, transparent, verifiable computer that's going to have like an application layer that's going to allow for you to be self-sovereign with your Bitcoin in a new and different way through a totally new cryptographic protocol built on Bitcoin with new authentication factors that like Jesse Posner, as like the lead senior architect at Block and a contributor to like a core dev contributor and an individual that has made multiple contributions to open source Bitcoin development. He's fucking brilliant, and my partner. But at the end of it, it's kind of funny because as we show this to like a lot of VCs, like, whoa, this is like a really big vision. Or like, what? Like, are you like a small dick little fuck that like I thought that's what you wanted. Like, don't you want like big vision? Because like we're giving you an opportunity to invest in $1 trillion company, but you're like, it's too scary to invest a couple $100,000 to start. Like that's what you do, and like you invested in like all kinds of idiotic shit that's going to make you like $4. So anyways, this isn't a public solicitation, but like if you're a venture capitalist and like want to throw some money at something, reach out. But yeah, the other one is like, again, we'll revisit this in the future when Bitcoin's like $150,000 or whatever, but just like, if you're worried about money and that's like a thing that you do and you like have a bunch of fiat, by the way, like where the fuck are you guys getting fiat money? Like, how do you guys have fiat money? Like I'm like a little suspicious now, you guys. You're like, yeah, you still stacking? It's like, where, with what? Like, did you have more chairs to sell? Because I thought we like liquidated that shit a while ago. So like, I'm like on to you two.
This is my last chair, you guys. Come on.
Although like I'm super hypocritical right now. Like I'm like actually sitting in a chair. So like I should maybe shut the fuck up.
Disgusting. I used to think better.
Gross. gross.
Yeah, it's fair.
fake.
Can't believe this
if
guy
we do
would
the political
sit in a
thing,
chair.
I have to apologize about the kinky shit that's going to come out about me. Nothing illegal, just weird. I'm sorry.
That chair is a Sibian.
But, you know-
It's actually a Sibian. Yeah.
God. No, don't look that up, you guys. Please make sure your VPN's on if you look that up.
I like that we all know what that is, though. It's just like, that's
It's like a Howard Stern thing from the early 2000s.
didn't need to be explained. Didn't need to be, like.
Although, like, now somebody needs to develop like the lightning fed Sibian thing that like changes the controls on it. I'll let you guys figure that out for yourselves.
Oh no.
It's another
yeah, it's
angel
always
for
nice to have
OnlyFans and
Hodl.
OnlyFans integration.
Yeah.
God, like, why hasn't somebody made Only Zaps already? Like, OnlyFans, like, clearly we need to go deeper into the degeneracy of culture and help feed it. But, anyways, that's a different story.
Footster, guys. I tried to start Footster. You can still go to footster.com.
By the way-
I think the website's still active. I think I'm still paying for it.
by the way, the
I'll
long
reinvigorate
tail-
it, I swear.
The long tail of OnlyFans shows that there are 2 million women out there who showed their pussy for $50 or less a month, which is like that is not good, man. If you're one of them, like if you're a top 0.1% creator, you're making millions of dollars a month. Like, cool, I support you, I guess. I don't know, but $50, like, there's a lot of things you can do to earn $50 that aren't showing your pussy to the internet. You know. Come on.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think that there's a lot of long-term thought going on there. But anyways, much love to you guys. Yeah, can't wait till we do another one of these. It's always fun to have a little group therapy session and realize that not everyone on planet Earth is actually retarded. So it's always nice
Not
to meet
fully,
with other
anyway.
people that
Not
have like
fully.
put multiple brain cells together and like made them collaborate and work together to like figure shit out. But truly, it's actually very inspirational to like see and know and understand. Because like Bitcoiners are always like several standard deviations removed from any other groupings of people, which is why like working out of Presidio Bitcoin has been so incredible. Because it's like anytime somebody comes through the door, they're always fucking awesome, like irregardless. Whereas like if I go out anywhere else in the world, the heuristic is usually like 99% of people we're going to talk about sports ball or other normie stuff that makes me want to become an alcoholic. So that's kind of where we're at.
Fucking love you guys. Appreciate your time. And I want to shout out to everybody who joined this on Nostr. We had up to 129 people viewing on Nostr and still have 81 people viewing this live stream on a decentralized, censorship-resistant protocol. And that's pretty neat. So thank you.
And look, if
to the
each
folks
one of
who
those
joined.
people paid you $1 to show you their pussy or their penis, like you'd be
they're
outperforming
paying-
OnlyFans.
Only Zaps,
Hold-
baby.
Hold on, guys. I don't know if that's how the model works. They paid me to show. I don't know.
That is the dude version of OnlyFans, right? It's like where you pay girls to look at your penis.
Now that's a business idea,
We
right
could
there.
build that on Nostr. Look at my penis for $1.
You guys, I think
Hold
I
on.
think we have a company.
We need to cut this recording right now so we don't give away too much alpha on this new round. Okay. Appreciate you guys. I'm cutting the stream now. Peace.
See you guys.
And that's a wrap on this Bitcoin Talk episode of the Bitcoin Podcast. Remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're watching or listening, and share it with your friends, family, and strangers on the internet. Find me on Nostr at primal.net/Walker and this podcast at primal.net/Titcoin. On X, YouTube, and Rumble, just search at Walker America. And find this podcast on X and Instagram at Titcoin Podcast. Head to the show notes to grab sponsor links. Head to substack.com/@WalkerAmerica to get episodes emailed to you. And head to bitcoinpodcast.net for everything else. Bitcoin is scarce, but podcasts are abundant. So thank you for spending your scarce time listening to the Bitcoin Podcast. Until next time, stay free.